Did you guys know that Greta Thunberg was going to save Palestine by sailing to Palestine with a few boxes? Me too. I don't know what the hell's going on in the world anymore, but let's get right into it. I'm Tali, your favorite Zionist prince. Let's see what Mrs. Thunberg is up to.
It's a system defined by colonialism, imperialism, oppression, genocide. It's funny. Sorry, it's funny. Now, meanwhile, in what has to be not only one of the stupidest stories of the day, but one of the stupidest stories ever, we're still talking about Greta Thunberg. Now, you recall Greta when she was a not particularly cute child, and we weren't allowed to make jokes about her not being particularly cute because she was a child. Well, now she's 22 years old, so I can say whatever the hell I want about her, and she is an obnoxious brat. She was always an obnoxious brat. Now, she first heard about climate change in 2011, she says, when she was 8 years old. And at that point, she stopped talking, stopped eating, and lost 22 pounds. That was at like age 11. Okay, that is really bad. And we know that her parents were worried about her. They got her some treatment, but apparently he then took her out of school and decided to put her on camera for literally the rest of her life, which is a weird way of doing treatment. He actually said, quote, she can either sit at home and be really unhappy or protest and be happy. Well, I'm not sure why we are supposed to listen to an unhappy teenager protesting just to make them happy. At least someone's happy. She has spent the last decade or so gallivanting around the globe protesting. It's like her way of having fun. She started with climate change, where she famously lectured all the adults for not doing enough. In her humble opinion, I mean, not humble opinion, because she's not humble at all. She's, as I say, truly obnoxious. She said that the adults were not doing enough to stop the world from getting warmer. She didn't have any solutions, but she could yell at the adults. It was her very obnoxiousness that endeared her to the left-wing media machine in the first place, which, for some odd reason, finds small children saying idiotically reductive garbage to be wise and useful. So here she was in 2019, yelling at the adults. Oh my God, you can't get this out of your mind once it's there. It will be implanted in your brain forever, this obnoxious nonsense.
How dare you continue to look away and come here saying that you're doing enough when the politics and solutions needed are still nowhere in sight. You say you hear us and that you understand the urgency. But no matter how sad and angry I am, I do not want to believe that.
I mean, who cares? I mean, the fact that this was ever treated as a serious issue is beyond me. But it shows that the left is literally willing to use anyone as their tool, and they particularly like using children, specifically because then, if you say that the child is wrong, like, you're attacking a child. Well, here's the deal. Now she's 22, so I can say whatever I want about her, okay? She's an adult. She still dresses like a little girl, and she still cosplays as a teenage girl. But now she has graduated to the new leftist radical cause of the day, standing for Hamas in Gaza. So this Swedish truant, who still has not graduated college, is now heading for Gaza in a boat. Yes, she's heading to Gaza in a boat. It's like, it's funny. Sorry, it's funny. This spoiled brat who's never held a real job in her life and will never need to because she'll just be a professional activist forever, getting herself arrested for no reason. She's going in a boat. Yay. It's like Lonely Island. She's on a boat reminiscent of the terrorist flotilla from 2010, in which friends of Hamas sent a set of ships to Gaza laden with goods that would have immediately gone to support the terror group. That particular flotilla was offered passage at Ashdod, which is an Israeli port, and they turned it down because they were worried that Israel would confiscate the goods, which Israel would have, because, again, it was illegal. Israel had offered, by the way, to coordinate any aid with the UN. That flotilla was designed to attack Israeli troops. Like, they brought weapons on board, they brought water cannons and stuff. And when the Israelis boarded the ship to stop it, this is back in 2010, some of the people on the ship even grabbed the weapons of the Israelis. 10 Israeli soldiers were wounded. There were 9 of the people on the ships who were killed by Israeli troops. They had openly said they wished to die as martyrs. So again, that was the terrorist kind of propaganda ship of the time. That was 2010. Well, fast forward 15 years and we're doing the terrorist propaganda ship again. So back to our moronic story, Greta's new pleasure cruise. So our Pippi Longstocking wannabe heroine has now loaded onto the so-called Madeleine ship, which is launched by the so-called Freedom Flotilla Coalition. This Freedom Flotilla has not called for the freedom of Palestinians from Hamas ever, or the freedom of actual hostages currently being held in tunnels as they are dying. Anyway, Thunberg has taken the lead, calling to dismantle Zionism. This is her goal, to dismantle Zionism, which, just for the record, means the forcible murder of millions of Jews who currently live in an actual, not fictional state called Israel. Here she was just a few months back saying as much to her friends in Stockholm. So she's chanting Crush Zionism here. That's what she is chanting. And she's so happy. Remember, she garners her happiness from this sort of performative idiocy. Did you know that over 85% of grass-fed beef sold in the United States is imported? Luckily, good ranch tariffs. It is a subscriber. Well, she is now joined on the magic boat of stupidity by propagandists from the Qatari news outlet Al Jazeera, as well as an actor from Game of Thrones. Actually, the right actor, it's the Davos Seaworth guy, so at least he's used to being on the water for fake. They say they're trying to bring humanitarian aid to Gaza, even though actually what's happening in Gaza right now is kind of amazing. Israel has taken over the distribution of humanitarian aid along with the Americans, and they're doing it directly, which is very good because people are now being fed in the Gaza Strip by people who are not Hamas. One of the big problems with the UN is that they worked for Hamas, and so all the aid that was going in was being hijacked by Hamas. Hamas was then taking it and either using it themselves or they were selling it back to the Palestinians at inflated rates to pay for their terror tunnels and all the rest. So what's happening right now is that Palestinians are actually beginning to get aid, and it's breaking the Hamas stranglehold over the Palestinian population. It's actually creating the possibility of a true Palestinian uprising against Hamas. Hamas centers of distribution, like warehouses storing flour, are now being attacked by Palestinians. So the Palestinians are now free to actually receive aid without having to worry about Hamas stealing it. So what Greta is doing is actually part of a gigantic propaganda effort launched by the exact same pro-Hamas forces that lied earlier this week by claiming that Israel had shot dozens of people at an aid distribution center. It was a complete and total lie parroted by the left-wing media. It was parroted by the BBC. It was parroted by CNN and the Washington Post. Again, it's all part of a bigger propaganda operation. So here's Greta, who has suddenly decided that climate change is so passe and that Hamas is super hot right now. Woo! So she said, quote, "The world cannot be silent bystanders. This silence and passivity that we are seeing from most of the world is deadly. We are seeing a systematic starvation of 2 million people." Literally, the Israelis have been shipping in trucks filled with aid to the same people who took hundreds of Israelis hostages and murdered over 1,000. She says, "Every single one of us has a moral obligation to do everything we can to fight for a free Palestine." Obnoxious Swedish brat. God, she's so obnoxious. Again, this is all part of her broader crusade to get herself arrested so she can get attention. The same kinds of attention she used to get when she was effectively a child actress. But sort of like other child actresses, she can no longer earn a part. And so we have now reached the Britney Spears, Katy Perry desperation point of the Greta Thunberg character arc, in which she just does increasingly sordid and idiotic stuff in order to get attention. So here she was, a few months ago, just getting herself arrested. Okay, so, yeah. This is what these people get off on, is the chanting, and she's wearing the terrorist keffiyeh. Again, if you airdrop Greta without the keffiyeh into Gaza, she would last a millisecond. Now, this sort of stuff would be super silly and kind of funny, of course. I mean, listen, I kind of hope, secretly, that this whole thing turns into one of these entertaining reality specials. So, like, the engine breaks, and we get the world's most ridiculous version of Gilligan's Island. But the problem is Greta, despite the hair, really can't carry it forward the way Mary Ann did. Actually, the whole crew of the USS Minnow has now been replaced by smelly environmentalists who really, really hate Jews. And like the USS Minnow, they may be stuck wherever they land for years at a time, because none of these people is going to make a radio out of a coconut. I mean, if you think Greta ain't making no radio out of no coconut. Anyway, the real question here is the same as always. It really is a serious question. Why is it we can almost always identify, actually not almost, just literally always, climate change activists as fans of Hamas, one of the least environmentally friendly groups on the planet? And the answer is simple. It's something called the omni cause. Okay, for the left, there is one giant mush of cause. Okay, it doesn't matter if you're talking about trans rights or the environment or Hamas. It's all part of the omni cause. What unites the omni cause? Well, it's that people hate the system. And by this, they just mean capitalism in the West. That's all. Greta hates capitalism. She hates the West. That's the end of it. And whether she is attacking the West by siding with Hamas, or whether she's attacking the West by parroting a bunch of random green environmental nonsense. She's been doing this crap since 2019. She released a book in 2019 and somehow incredibly became even more obnoxious. At some point, we're going to reach the obnoxiousness singularity with Greta Thunberg and the world will end. She said in 2019, quote, "What we refer to as normal is an extreme system built on the exploitation of people and the planet. It's a system defined by colonialism, imperialism, oppression, genocide by the so-called global north to accumulate wealth that still shapes our current world order. I mean, notice the language there? She's talking about genocide in 2019. In 2019, by like the West generally. So yes, that's what's happening here. This is a boat full of just complete clods who hate the West. And that is why they all talk like this at university campuses. And this is why the media support them, because this is all part of a broader left-wing rubric that says that capitalism is bad and successful people are exploiters, and everybody who is poor and makes bad decisions in life, all those people, all of them, are all exploited by all of those terrible capitalistic Western pigs. Meanwhile, she's a Swedish. So listen, I wish all of these people a pleasant 3-hour tour. And if they land on the shores of some uncharted desert isle, I hope that they land without the keffiyehs so they can see how the Hamas locals treat them without their terror, solidarity, insignias. How Westerners are actually treated when they end up among the actual barbarians that they believe they support. Well, that's all for now, folks. Don't forget to like.
It's clear Ben Shapiro hasn't watched my keffiyeh video because I'm very offended at the way he keeps calling keffiyeh a terrorist scarf. But that's okay. We'll give him a pass. Somebody send Ben Shapiro my keffiyeh video, please. The one that went viral of me lecturing. This is by far one of the most ridiculous things that have happened since the beginning of this war. It is so clear that this pompous, privileged, white privileged group of dumbass Europeans sailing to Gaza, the audacity of bypassing all the other countries in the Middle East that need your help. The last country in this region that needs more aid, the last place in this region that needs more aid is Gaza, is Palestine. They have received tons and tons of aid since the beginning of the war that they started. Tons. That's not the same for Syria or Yemen or Lebanon. They're not getting any aid. You want to help? Take your fucking stupid keffiyehs and sail up to fucking Lebanon and go give them aid. They need help. They actually need the aid. Go help people of southern Lebanon. You want to fucking support some terrorists? Go to Lebanon. Go to Syria. They need your help. But you'll never do it because you're posturing, because you want the views and the followers, and you need the attention. Just like Ben said, you need the attention. Well, I have to say, this version of Ben Shapiro is prime Ben Shapiro. It's the only version of Ben Shapiro I think we all want and need, and it's Ben Shapiro roasting people. It's what he's good at. It's what makes the change. It's what brings these stupid people down, and we should see more and more of it. I'll see you guys in the next one. I love you a long time. Goodbye, Clats.
If you believe in my content and want to support me, just know your help is needed. There's a bunch of great ways to support me, being PayPal, Buy Me a Coffee, or joining my Patreon community down below. Patreon is the best way to support my channel, and you'll get a bunch of cool perks depending on what tier you join. Another great way to support me is by buying my merchandise on thetravelingclat.com. I regularly drop new merch designs like this beautiful hat, or this amazing shirt, where you can support the channel and get something cool for yourself. I also have an amazing Discord community with people from all over the world. Thank you so much for your support.